the idea. People telling the stories that made them who they are today. Their secret backstory. When people hear someone else's story, it gives them the faith that things can work out for them as well. Whether you're telling your secret backstory or listening to someone else tell theirs, we're all just walking each other home. Welcome to the show, Jolene. And the first thing I want to get out of the way actually is, how do you say the second word of your blog? It's following.
It depends on if you are German or English.
Right. So I listened to the German thing and I couldn't do it.
Just Fernweh. If you're
Fernweh.
If you're speaking English, yes.
And following Fernweh is following a desire to travel, like
right.
Destination, right?
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So the opposite of following your way home.
Right. It's the opposite of homesickness.
Opposite of homesickness. That's right. That's what it said. That's what it said. Which is a pretty cool title. So again, I met you through the camping biker Facebook page, because I was thinking about going camping and with my bike and during the pandemic, and I never did. I chickened out. And you had posted something from your blog, and so I decided to follow the blog and see what you're up to, and it's some cool stuff. And so I don't know you other than that, and so this is you're the first guest I'm having on that I don't already know, which is cool. And so the whole point of the show is, when you meet people, you don't know who they are. You know who they are right at that moment. And I read your blog. I went back kind of far and read some stuff. And I said that you worked in the financial world.
Yes, I do. I'm a loan officer.
Okay. So you meet people in this situation at work, and does the motorcycle thing come up, or?
The only time it comes up is when I go out to do my farm visits, if I go on my motorcycle.
Oh, okay. Then it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So for the women out in the world that are listening, there's millions of them right now listening, who have thought about getting a motorcycle license and buying a motorcycle and just starting to ride. You did that just a couple of years ago, right? Was it the pandemic that did this for you?
It was a combination. I was seeing a guy who rode, and I would always ride on the back, but when you're a passenger, you have to wait to be invited, and I didn't really like that.
Right.
Then when the pandemic came around and we're all sitting at home wondering what to do, I thought I should just buy a motorcycle. So I went out and did that.
That's awesome. And what drove you to the bike you have? Was it price? Was it style?
Well, I started out with a Honda Shadow, a 750. It was, everyone said they're good bikes. You know, they're perfect actually for women. They're light, they're easy to handle. They never break down, which I found to be true. So that was a perfect starter bike for me. Nope, I bought the bike before I took the class, and somebody rode it home for me. I didn't have a license or anything.
Right.
And I put it away in my garage, and I thought, I am such a rebel. And then I never rode it. So I thought, well, I better ride it. You know, it's kind of expensive to just sit in my yard.
How long did you have it before you rode it?
Well, I did a couple practice laps around the parking lots and stuff, but I probably had it about a month before I took my class. Yeah, I thought I got to be responsible now and take the class and get my license, because so many people around here just have their permits and they never bother to get their license.
Right.
That's not responsible.
And you're out in the Midwest somewhere, right? Is it?
Yep. North Dakota.
North Dakota. So yeah, that's hard country, as people say.
Yeah.
You guys have rough winters there.
Yes, we do.
So what kind of riding season do you have? I mean, how long is it?
Well, if
you were out riding in the cold, and in one of your posts, you were out riding and it would look pretty cold. It was snowing around.
Well, if you're a diehard, you put on your snowmobile pants and your winter jacket, and you start riding about April when the road's clear. And then again, you can go to about October, November, put your snow pants on again, and
Right.
until the snow and the ice come. Yeah.
Cool. So you've been riding a couple years. The pandemic's a couple years old at this point.
Yeah.
And did you start the long distance thing right away? Was that something you knew you wanted to do right off the bat?
Nope. I bought the bike and I thought I'm just gonna use it for fun runs and that's all I'm gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had a friend that again he was on a motorcycle group and he's like, well, you should try, long distance trips and things like that. And so I got invited out to Western North Dakota to the Teddy Roosevelt National Park, and I just fell in love with that long distance riding. That was a couple months after I bought the bike. Yeah.
And you did that alone, or you did that with your friend?
No, I did it alone. I met a rider out there, and he showed me around. But yep, right. I went out there alone, and I didn't break down. So I thought, oh, this is really cool.
Right.
Distance thing totally for me. I am not a day rider. I mean, I do it, but my heart is in the long distance.
There's a meditative element
Absolutely.
to those long rides. I mean, I'm not a long distance rider. My longest ride, I think, was 500, 700 miles over like a 3 or 4 day period. Which, I was proud. That was my first one, and I did it solo. I was out for a few days. I went up to northern Maine, and which was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And you just got back from like a 4-day ride?
No, it was more like 2. Yeah,
okay.
It didn't work out the way I wanted to, but yeah.
Okay. And what did you go see?
We rode up to the northern part of North Dakota, and we saw the geographical center of North America in Rugby, North Dakota.
Nice.
And we kind of meandered our way around the state, basically.
That's nice. I mean, it's always good to just see new stuff,
It is.
So what would you say to someone, to a woman or a man who's looking to get into motorcycle riding? I mean, what was it, I guess, that held you back for whatever period of time until the pandemic? What was there just no interest in it before, or?
Yeah, I didn't know anybody who rode. I didn't know anything about the lifestyle or what kind of people were doing it. So yeah, I never came in contact with it. Probably
right.
Back.
Another point that I found interesting in your blog, and it seemed to have started out quite a while ago as like a vacation blog. But there was a mention when motorcycles came into the picture that you lived in Australia for 10 years?
I did. I found myself living out there for 10 years, and we rode dirt bike out there because there's nothing to do in the outback. And
right.
So we rode dirt bike. That was one of our fun things to do.
So, but you were born here and you ended up moving there at one point for whatever reason.
That's right. After college, I thought I'm going to go on the biggest adventure I could think of. And I went to Australia and worked on a cattle ranch for a year. And I loved it so much, I stayed there for 10 years.
Yeah, I can see that happening. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I moved to Florida on a whim in 2001, I think it was. And I ended up spending 10 years away from New England, and I'm back now. But so it turned into, and I went there with the thought, this could be the year I spent in Florida. And I ended up spending 6 years there, and I spent 4 years in Tennessee. And then, got back and continued on in my old neighborhood. But were you from North Dakota when you started, or?
Nope, I'm from Minnesota originally.
Oh, okay.
I grew up on a farm there.
Nice. You're a single mom.
Yep, that's right.
You have a son. Does he like the motorcycle? Does he go with you?
Yeah.
Did I see you have a sidecar on there too?
Yes, actually, last year I accidentally discovered he could touch the pegs on my Dyna, So he started riding with me last year, and we went motorcycle camping, and that was a little tough. Been on the back, because I was afraid of him falling asleep and wiggling around so much. I liked it, but now I bought another motorcycle that had a sidecar on it, and he actually really likes that a lot. He loves
Nice.
to ride with me.
When you're planning your trip, the fantasy I have of, I just pull over wherever I want to, I set up a tent and I go to sleep. But is it that free, or do you look for campgrounds? Do you schedule a route?
I do a little bit, before I go on a trip, I make a plan and I plan a route, but it's not set in stone. So if I want to deviate, I do. And I have a couple navigational apps like iOverlander and stuff, and they're really good for finding dispersed camping. So if I'm going along and I pull up the map and I see, oh, that looks like a good spot, I'll go there.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what is the longest ride you've done?
Like time-wise, or
I guess miles or time. I mean, both. One equals the other, right?
Yeah. Well, we went down to Sturgis last year. I spent a week. We were riding around down there, and the one day we went over to Wyoming and up into Billings and stuff, and that was probably a 600-mile day.
And I mean, do you have special equipment for this?
I have, I've got the bags that are set up for the motorcycle, and I have my tent because I really like to camp wherever I can. But yeah, I mean, just basically tenting gear like you would if you were going
if
tenting.
You're packing a truck.
Yeah.
You've met some interesting people on the road, I take it, or?
I have actually, because I'm very active on social media, and I like to post about my trips. I like to write about them, and I like to take photos. So I do posting in groups and also on my social media accounts. And last spring, I got invited out to Alabama to meet this family. They said they had an extra bike if I wanted to fly down and ride with them. And so I did that. I didn't know them, but I flew down and we spent 4 days riding around Alabama country. And then this spring, somebody else sent me an invitation from Texas. He had a bike. He's like, come down and ride. So I flew down and I rode the Texas Hill Country. It was it's been really fun. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, being on the road when you're on the bike, if someone else pulls up, you end up talking to these people.
Right.
And, and camping has that same kind of thing. I've done a lot of camping over the years. What is different about you today because you ride?
You're a lot more satisfied with life. COVID really, it had an effect on everybody. It was very depressing being so isolated, but riding is something you can do, definitely social distancing. And so that was a great benefit. It makes you appreciate life more. I mean, I just find life is such an adventure, and any day is a good day on the bike. And I see things that I never would have noticed before. It just makes you appreciate things more. The people I've met along the way I've always been very much an internal sort of person, but riding has forced me to be in contact with all these wonderful people I never would have known about or even considered.
Right. One of the things I find about it is, the living in the moment thing that everybody talks about and how important that is. And sometimes it's hard to describe that to somebody and
it is.
And say, this is what it is. But when you're on the bike, you really are focused on only what you're doing, and like all the stuff that might be going on in your world is really, it's not even present. Which is, again, it's a healthy thing. Motorcycle riding is dangerous, for anybody out there who thinks it is. I agree with you. And I remember when I first wanted to get a bike, I was married at the time, and my wife said to me, "Give me one good reason why you should get a motorcycle." And I says, there isn't one good reason other than I want one. So, but I ended up getting one, and I've been riding for 10, 12 years now.
Good.
So, and I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It is a weeknight thing. You have a stressful day at work, you come home, you have dinner, and then you hop on the bike and go for a ride just for a quick blast. And I like night riding myself, probably more than hot riding, traffic riding, and those can be kind of a drag sometimes. But and I live in New England. I live near the coast, so I'm always kind of cruising up along the ocean. And one of the things I was going to suggest is, look at the Northeast, from where you're at. I mean, if you head up past the Great Lakes and stuff and go up into northern Maine and hit the coast up there, it's pretty amazing.
Yep.
And there is a Cabot Trail up in Nova Scotia, which you can get to by going that way. It would be a long ride, but Cabot Trail is, it's a good 4 or 5 days just on the trail, but it goes around the entire island of Nova Scotia and it's all coast. I've never done it. My brother did it. And I just thought I might, mention it to you. People forget about the Northeast. We're like this, top corner people don't think about all the time. But we get a lot to offer, especially for motorcycle roads.
Yep.
We have a short season also, and our winters can be rough. But the coastal riding for me is really, I don't know, it's special. It just has there's a certain feel to the air, the salt air. It's kind of nice. So you should look into that.
Absolutely.
So I want to go camping. What do you recommend for my first thought when I want to load up a bike? I got a couple of bags. I got a bagger.
Yeah, actually, those bags that I have, the guy that sold me my first motorcycle, he came back to me a couple of weeks later. He said, "Hey, I got these bags. Do you want them?" And so I bought them from him. They're called tea bags, and they kind of snap together, so you don't need the bungee cords or anything, that holds together. So I just got lucky with that. I don't really know anything about bags per se, but I would say that figure out what kind of camping you want to do, definitely. And I have a little stove setup that I do because I like to make my meals on the road and things. Right. But people like eating out. They like to stop and get a meal, and that's fine too. It depends on what kind of riding you want to do.
Right.
And a trip you want to have.
Now, what do you do about mechanical stuff? And I've seen your YouTube page, so I know where these stories can go. And I enjoyed the videos, by the way. They're really entertaining. You're not a mechanic. You're not a motorcycle mechanic. But you're fixing your own bike. Yep. You're taking that on. I mean, that's something that's something that would stop somebody from getting into motorcycle riding. And I mean, how do you something's broken? How do you approach it? How do you figure out what's wrong?
Well, there are basic things that you can look at that I've discovered, like, spark plugs are always one thing you want to check. The frame, things like that, the battery wires, the connections. If you get to those basic things and look at them, those are the easiest things to troubleshoot. And oftentimes those are the main components of a problem.
Right.
A friend of mine gave me this little toolkit, and it has been amazing. I didn't know all that stuff that it contained, but it has everything pretty much to tear down the bike all the way. I would never do that, but when I break down, which I have several times, first thing I do is usually call somebody and say, what do I do? What do I look for? I tell them what happened. There are always people that know more than you do, and they give me a direction to go. And if it's rideable, what should I do? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of your videos, did I see you injured, like your hand while you were fixing something, or?
No, I think I burned. Yeah, I did. I'm playing with the hot stuff.
Right. Well, that's, again, another brave move. I mean, you jumped in and you just went, which is, I guess, kind of a life lesson. That's the way you should do things, right? I mean,
well, it's kind of a thing where I can't I can't sit around and expect somebody else to fix it for me when I like to ride alone. You know, I've got to be self-reliant. Otherwise,
Right.
it's not going to work.
And are you cruising YouTube videos to see how to fix stuff, or?
I do. Like when I get suggestions on things to check for, I'm like, I don't know how to do that. So I go to YouTube and I look at the videos and then I try to duplicate what they do.
Yeah, I mean, it gets you out of a lot of stuff. I've done some stuff on my bike. I'm not a mechanic, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a guy. I'm supposed to be a mechanic, but I'm totally not. And the YouTube videos definitely get you through some stuff. So
Right. It does. And you just gotta learn not to be afraid of it. I think that's what holds most people back, is they're scared of taking things off of the bike. And I can understand that. I was too, but I wasn't getting anywhere by just looking at it. So.
Well, no, you're not gonna. I mean, and one of the big things for me was, if I would take something apart mechanically, I have this panic that I have to get it right back together.
Yes.
So I took on, my fairing, the inner fairing. I had it painted. And so now I had the black inner fairing and I had the red inner fairing, which I wanted on there. But there's a lot of stuff that comes off.
There is.
To get that to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up with, it looked like my bike threw up. All the wires were just hanging on the ground and there's no fairing at all. And
I got a feeling.
It is. But I walked out there with, it was a Saturday morning and I said, I'm just going to go out tomorrow morning. It's a nice day. It's supposed to be a nice day. I'm going to start at like 10 o'clock and I'm going to very slowly take things apart and just lay them on the picnic table. Yep. And, I did breathing exercises. I mean, I prevented myself from panicking, and had some music going. I got through it with YouTube videos it was all, without the YouTube videos, I never would have got it done. Never would have.
Absolutely.
So it's like, and I guess you can apply that to most things. If you take some breaths, you stay calm and don't worry about getting right back to where you were. I guess I always thought I forget how to put something back in, Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I did the tape everything and write on it.
Yeah.
This wire went to the speedometer. This wire went to the tach.
Sure. Good idea.
And that was probably the most helpful thing for me to get through that stuff. But yeah, people should look you up. But you're on YouTube, you're on Facebook, and you have a was it Blogspot? You have your blog on?
Yep, I've got a blog on Blogspot. Mm-hmm.
So
Instagram, yep, I'm everywhere.
That's social media is fun. I got a bunch of pages. I'm just into it. That's how I got into this thing. Mm-hmm. My goal is, and I have a little portable recorder. Mm-hmm. My goal is to get on the road and bump into people and say, "Hey, you want to be on a podcast? Let's do it right here." So I gotta get better at interviewing and doing my thing. But it's just a goal, And I have a fantasy of riding my bike from the East Coast to the West Coast and back at some point, So maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Absolutely.
But this is probably a good place to break off. I think it's inspiring for folks who are, looking to get into something that they wouldn't necessarily get into. I think it says a lot for women. I know a lot of women who want to get into this, and they find reasons not to. And a couple of years go by and they don't end up doing it. So
that's right.
You're an example of just do it and get it done. And outstanding job by you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
If you want to tell yours, send an email to tellmystory@secretbackstory.com. That's the idea. What's your secret backstory?